Now you've taken a few minutes to think about logic, thought about it in some context that we give in some sentences that we gave you, and you really thought about it, especially in light of the fact that there's something that you should be able to accomplish as an objective that you should be able to accomplish in this course. The idea being that what you're studying should give you a new skill or help you refine the skill, as we discussed, or help you in your academic career in college, in your life work, your job, your career, or just in life in general. I think you spent a few minutes trying to hone in on it. I think it's really a good practice in general when you're starting a course or when you're starting a new subject matter to really think about what the practical value is or what the objectives are that you're hoping to accomplish. But now let's hone in a little bit more on what is logic. And we're going to begin doing that by taking a look at the dictionary definition of logic. In particular, I took a definition from dictionary.com. Dictionary.com defines logic, where I actually have 5 definitions of logic, in the following way. Logic is, first one, the science that investigates the principles governing correct or reliable inference. How should you make inferences? What are the good rules of making inferences? The second definition of logic is that it is a particular method of reasoning or argumentation, one that somebody might very well have followed. And when they give you an example, we were unable to follow his logic, an example of a sentence in which it's occurred, and we talked about a similar sentence, that is, that we couldn't follow the logic of our friend's wasting his last dollar when his rent was coming due. That is, it's a way of reasoning, way of argument that the guy has actually implemented. In this case, we're saying that we couldn't follow what his method of reasoning is. Third definition of logic is the system or principles of reasoning applicable to any branch of knowledge or study. And I think number 3 and number 1 are very closely related, if not the same thing. And they're primarily what we're going to be studying or what we're going to be doing throughout the course of the semester and studying and improving our skills in. The fourth definition is that logic is reason. Reason is logic, or logic is judgment, as in utterances or actions. They give you a sentence in which it uses this meaning of logic. There wasn't much logic in her move, and earlier I had you consider the sentence, there was not much logic in her decision against having an abortion. That is, you thought the person didn't really make a sound judgment, and that's what you were questioning when you said that. The fifth definition or meaning of the word logic is convincing forcefulness, inexorable truth, that is, unavoidable truth, or persuasiveness. The context in which they see this meaning occurring, the irresistible logic of the facts, or the one that we considered the logic of believing that God exists cannot be challenged. That is, in your local religious institution, when they say things of that, it is just that God's existence is absolutely, inevitably true. It's obvious. It by itself is persuasive. It is very convincing. Now that's the way the dictionary defines logic, and as I mentioned, we're going to be spending the semester really honing in when we talk about logic. And when you're taking the introduction to logic, what you're taking is the science or study of the principles of correct reasoning. And when you look at any kind of study like this, there are 2 different kinds of studies that may be described as prescriptive and descriptive. Now, what do I mean by prescriptive and descriptive? Prescriptive means you're prescribing what to do. That is, telling how you should or ought to reason, what the right rules are, what the rules of good reasoning are. That's the prescriptive study. Now, there's certainly another study in which you are describing the principles of reasoning that people actually use. And that is a study that we see oftentimes in psychology. That is, people are trying to explain how people are acting. So keep in mind, when we're looking at logic, we're looking at the science or the study of the principles of correct reasoning. And that's where we're getting started. That's what we're going to spend the semester on. And in a second, we're going to turn to the relationship between that and reason or reasoning and argument. What do these three concepts, logic, reason, and argument, have to do one with the other?